Welcome guys! So today is our first episode of the news report, and we are going to be talking about some stuff that's trending on Twitter, what's happening around U of T, some important news events that happened within the past 2 weeks, and we will also be interviewing MGA1 Ben about his article for Global Conversations.
Woohoo! So let's get into what has been trending. So Monday was a sad day for bacon lovers everywhere. The World Health Organization has officially classified the consumption of processed meat as carcinogenic to humans. We're talking 50 grams of processed meat, 1 sausage, or less than 2 slices of bacon increases your chances of developing bowel cancer by 18%. They're listing processed meat just as bad as alcohol, asbestos, arsenic, and cigarettes. I think this means that Epic Mealtime will have to find a new meat to manipulate now.
I wonder what I should do over the next 2 weeks.
I know! I have some awesome events for all you keeners out there. The first event, which I'm sure many of you will enjoy, is called Cannabis Without the Hot Air. I can only assume that you can figure out what it's about. It's on November 9th from 7 p.m. to 8:30. The next one, if you didn't get enough of Shakespeare in high school, you can check out Hamlet. It starts November 4th until November 21st from 8 to 10:30 p.m., $25 at Hart House. And then finally, you can shake whatever your mama gave you with Miss Dance Zumba Extraordinaire Molly Thomas.
Nice.
She holds 2 classes every week at Gold Ring Center. The first one is on Monday at 12:10. The second one's on Saturday at 11:10. It is for free, people.
Woo!
So you don't have to pay. You won't get judged. All you gotta do is dance.
Thanks, Victoria!
You're so welcome.
Now we'll be talking about the top news stories from the past 2 weeks.
Argentina's president, Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner. You may have heard of her. She is the first female president of Argentina. She's actually due to step down because she's already served 2 terms and she can't serve another term. However, she has never been shy of controversy. She was handed over power by her late husband, Nestor, in 2007. And actually just this year, she was accused of being a part of the murder of prosecutor Alberto Nisman, who was killed in January, who was scheduled to appear before Argentina's Congress to answer questions about the allegations that President Fernandez worked to compromise his investigation of the 1994 bombing of a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires. The allegation is that President Fernandez tried to disrupt this whole investigation because the accused were people from Iran, so Iran's probably Secret Service, no one really knows, in order to gain access to Iranian oil. So talk about geopolitical drama, there's a lot going on there.
A 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the remote Hindu Kush mountains in Afghanistan and was felt in Pakistan, India, and Tajikistan, destroying thousands of homes and resulting in widespread devastation in the Badakhshan province, one of the poorest but sparsely populated areas of Afghanistan. Casualties figures have skyrocketed over the Afghan-Pakistan border, with officials stating that the death toll will continue to rise once relief workers return from remote villages that are only accessible by foot. Upwards of 300 people have died, 258 from Pakistan alone, and over 1,800 people have been injured, with at least 12 of the victims Afghan schoolgirls killed in a crush trying to get out of their school building.
So if you haven't heard of the Syrian refugee crisis, or otherwise known as the European migrant crisis, really depends on your perception, then you're probably in the wrong program. You probably haven't heard, however, of the recent agreement between European leaders, Merkel, and Turkey. Basically, it's a political solution to a huge humanitarian crisis that saves the politicians, but some would argue leaves the humans with more suffering. The refugee crisis has ironically forced relationships between Turkey and the EU to thaw, following a freeze in Turkey's EU accession bid due to its non-European-esque human rights violations.
On October 19th, Canadians went to the polls and casted their ballot for who they wanted the next Prime Minister to be. Clearly a sign that Canadians needed a change after a decade under Harper's Conservative, some say racist, some say sexist, secretive, environmentally damaging government. The Liberal Party of Canada won a majority government with 184 seats.
So we're here talking to Ben Avoni about his article in the recent issue of Global Conversations. Hi Ben.
Hi, thanks for
How
having
you
me.
doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. So just so everybody at home knows about your article, we'd love you to tell us a little bit about it.
All right, so the reason why I decided to sort of focus on the Baltics this month and the potential threat of Russian aggression there and the potential response from NATO is because, you know, Russia's more assertive stance in the global sphere has sort of come into clearer focus, obviously since the Ukraine crisis. And I think since then a lot of people have asked, you know, given Russia's, you know, covert involvement in Ukraine, its overt war with Georgia, and the sort of lack of response, what might be next? And a lot of people have sort of looked with, I think, justifiable trepidation at the Baltic states. Not that it's necessarily likely or an immediate threat that Russia might sort of try to cause some sort of conflagration there, but I think that people are worried that, you know, with massive Russian populations in Estonia and Latvia, with Lithuania bordering Russian territory, there's a worry that if something were to happen there, with those being NATO states, this would cause a much larger dilemma, and that would be, is NATO willing to sort of offer a military response in defense of its members, or would it rather essentially leave them out to dry, or potentially leave NATO to disintegrate as an alliance that offers collective security to its members?
So Russian media propaganda is a very interesting form of hybrid warfare. What do you think Russia's response to Estonia will be when it realizes Estonia has, and I quote from your article, a line that I really like, wrest viewership from Moscow's propaganda machine by creating its own Russian language television network?
Well, I guess that first sort of assumes that Estonia's efforts are going to be successful. So Estonia and Latvia both introduced their own state-run Russian language television networks along with sort of online presences this year, because prior to that, the Russian populations in those countries had been getting all of their media from Russian sources, often Russian state media. So because it's so early, it remains to be seen if that counter-messaging will really be effective. But I think if it were, no doubt Moscow would not be very happy about it. And I think you could expect a response, if not over the airwaves, then online. But the one thing that's clear is that counter-messaging is definitely necessary in those countries. The Kremlin's done a very good job of sort of unifying public opinion inside and outside its borders around sort of their preferred narrative, and I think it's a positive, creative approach by these countries, and we'll have to see how it works out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben, for interviewing with us, and you can read Ben's article in the upcoming issue of Global Conversations. So thanks so much, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
So thanks for joining us on our first episode of the News Report with VickiVictoria.
We hope you guys had a great Halloween and have a great next 2 weeks. We'll see you for the next episode of the News Report, and have an awesome day.